good to go?
Let's go. Ready.
Welcome back to Two Homers and a Realist. The Sooners win, beating TCU 69-45 in the last Big 12 home game. Might be the last Big 12 game for the Sooners ever. I'm Steve.
Lucas.
Connor.
Jay.
And we have a special guest, longtime listener, first-time guest, Matt.
Happy to be here.
All right, Matt. Well, thanks for joining us. We're going to get your take on some things as we roll through talking about this Sooners victory. And it was a surprising one. Not so surprising to some of us. Some of us had the Sooners scoring a lot of points. We got an eye roll when we made that prediction, but they turned out to be able to do that.
Underpredicted even.
Underpredicted.
Wow.
And I also underpredicted TCU score as well. We'll talk about
like
that.
We all did.
Yeah.
I was close.
we were closer.
They got that last one.
Yeah, So it was an exciting game. It was a game of surges. It looked like it was going really well, and then it looked like it was a little concerning, and we were stalling. And then all of a sudden we got some extension, and then all of a sudden it almost became a ball game. So that was obviously sort of the tale of a lot of what we've seen this season. Not perfect, but sort of the prototypical Sooners do well at home. I know you mentioned it to us, Jay, while we were watching the game, and another friend commented, if we played every game at home, it looks like we'd be the number one team in the country. Just night and day difference between when we're on the road and when we're home. Not perfect, though, for sure. But what do you guys, what was your take? 10-0 season.
I don't know if we can go that far. The SMU was a struggle. UCF was a 2-point, 2 point away from winning there, from tying that game.
Struggle.
I mean, we've had plenty of other struggles at home this season.
But not like on their road.
But no, not even close to the road.
This was the worst, though. I mean, I think we all could have said the UCF game, but this was the worst defensive performance we had at home, maybe of the season, though. I mean, it was really that second half today was a joke. I mean, it looked
painful.
like a bunch of guys. It looked like a bunch of guys who didn't know where they were supposed to be, what they were supposed to be doing, what their assignments were. So that part's a little frustrating, especially when that's been our strength throughout the majority of this season. On the other side, I mean, Jeff Lebby looked like he was auditioning for a job, for sure. I mean, I'd like to go back and look. I said it in the post-game video. I think the first two drives, we had one running play, and it was the Dylan Gabriel scramble for the touchdown. I don't think we ran the ball with the running back until the third drive of the game today.
And that was a penalty. So
And they called it back.
yeah, so it got called back. So I think we went 3 whole drives without the running back.
So
that was confusing and difficult. One thing to interject with, speaking of callbacks, we want to make sure we don't have to call back on this. We want to thank our post-game sponsor, Tobacco Exchange, always our sponsor. We almost neglected to get them in like we like to.
The cigar is so good. We're
sitting here enjoying it and jumping right into this victory. So Tobacco Exchange, 3 great locations throughout the metro area, Edmond, Oklahoma City, and more. Go in, tell them we sent you. Now, Lucas, what are we smoking tonight?
Today we have a Fuente and Yeho. It's one of my top 10 cigars domestically. It only comes out twice a year, usually a couple weeks before Father's Day, and then usually around Thanksgiving. They just hold them back until those times of year, and they're very bold and delicious.
Very, very good cigar, yeah. Appreciate Tobacco Exchange for sure. So, yeah, one thing that I noticed was it looked like when we were on a scripted drive for those first 2 drives, everything was working so well. And then we had to get off script a little bit, especially with, and we'll talk about the Gavin Freeman mistake that gave TCU an easy touchdown, and then they go down and miss the extra point, but then they go down and get another touchdown on our defense. And so it's just a 14-13 game. It's starting to get tight, and Jeff Lebby sort of goes into the Jeff Lebby shell. It looked like once he's off that script, he struggles with figuring out what he needs to do and how he wants to do it. Did you guys have a different impression or more of the same?
I just get frustrated in general with Lebby because I feel like the deep balls that we hit today are a low percentage play, but we happen to connect on them. And if it weren't for those, I think the rest of the play calling was just mediocre. I just feel like we got ourselves into positions where it's great that we hit those, but I don't know where we'd be if he hadn't connected on them, or if he had underthrown them like he usually does, or didn't lead the guys today.
He had a couple of underthrows. He had no overthrows that I noticed, but a couple on the money throws that I'm going to give him a lot of credit for.
He had one to Farouk that was about a half a yard too long.
Yeah,
and
I guess
towards
that's
the south
true.
end zone.
Yeah, that's true.
And
So-
then the interception to Brendan Thompson. He
Well,
kind of sailed that one
that was
high, and
severely
the wind
underthrown.
caught that one for sure.
I don't think the wind
And
caught. I think he just underthrew it that
that
much.
was the one.
The
I
wind may have
commented-
caught it because he launched it. I mean,
Yeah, I
into
commented earlier
the
in the
jet
game,
stream of the
His deep balls
atmosphere.
were a lot
So,
flatter, and they were going They were probably the best deep balls he'd thrown all season because the trajectory was way better.
Right.
And then on that one in particular, he threw that up like a punt practically, and
Yeah.
and it just got caught in the wind and was short.
Yeah, for whatever reason, it was severely underthrown, and obviously, and that was a flip the script type of interception. All of a sudden, that became a ball game. They intercept that ball, they went down and scored a touchdown, and
it's a 14-point game.
Well,
after
the
a
14-point
two-point
game that
conversion.
should have been put away.
Well, the previous drive, they drive down the field and score. The defense is obviously on its heels, and so right away you come back out and you throw a pick instead of just trying to methodically work your way down the field
and give them some rest.
kill some clock, give some rest. Because I've been going back and forth on different group texts and stuff throughout the game, and I think Gabriel played excellent today, honestly.
He did.
But once again, I know it's hard to bash on an offensive coordinator when you put up 62 offensive points. It's really hard to explain, but it could still just be better in a different way, a
Well,
more
Absolutely.
balanced attack that makes sense. And at the end of the day, your defense needs to get off the field, and the time of possession wasn't a huge factor, but it's more of just the flow and when we do what we do is still confusing to me.
I don't know. I mean, I think today we executed in a way that we've been wanting all year, where it was we were taking advantage of TCU's weaknesses. Whatever they were kind of showing, we were taking what we were getting, and we were executing pretty well. So, Jay, I agree. I think from an overall schematics and how you want to scheme a game, there's always going to be room for improvement. But if there's a game that I don't feel like there's a lot of worthy, or maybe some worthy, but a lot of just criticisms towards the offense, this is one that we'd have to kind of dig into the bag a little bit and really try to extract some criticisms, because it was scored 69 points against a Power 5 school, national runner-up from last year. Not that they're the same team by any means, but anyways, Matt, what did you think? What were some of your main takeaways?
From the beginning of the game, we were talking about not rushing the ball. What I saw was just success throwing the ball, so I didn't really feel like we needed to run the ball at that point in time. It was real early in the game. My problem is when you get further along in the game, you have yourself a nice lead. You've got to give your defense a rest. You've got to be able to chew some clock.
Yep.
Quit hiking the ball with 25 30 seconds on the
left.
play clock.
Yeah, exactly.
Try to give them some rest.
Yeah, that is definitely something I want to get into later in terms of analyzing the last really quarter of football, maybe even into the third quarter, but especially the last quarter, the way we were not trying to run the clock, it seemed like.
I think the game really turned, early, because the muff punt by Gavin
let's talk
Freeman,
about that,
who
yeah.
we've not been happy with all season. We keep wondering, he's not calling fair catches when he should, and then there's some times where he does call a fair catch, but it looks like he's going to drop the ball, or he catches it over. He turns his back to the defense and catches it over his shoulder, which is a punt returner you never want to do.
No.
Unless it's some booming 60-yard kick and you're on the run and there's guys 20 yards away
Right.
from you. Then you
Right.
can maybe chance it. But the
Right.
rest of the time you shouldn't be doing that. And then, so that puts the defense back on the field right away.
Inexplicably reached down to touch the ball.
Yeah.
Well, that's
He was trying to
after he
save,
calls.
like-
That's after he calls all his guys
Yeah.
off the ball, and I think
It bounced just right. He was trying to save like 7 or 8 yards of field position maybe, but it's not worth that because
Nope.
the football's not round. It's not a basketball. It's not a soccer ball. The thing bounces funny, and it has for hundreds of years that we've been playing football.
Well, 100.
Well, instead of waiting for the ball to come to
140.
him, he dives towards it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was crazy. And then they score a touchdown, miss the extra point, and then we get the ball, we go score, make it 14-6. Defense goes back on the field. They stop him they get him to 3rd and 10. The guy they throw the ball and we get a PI, which I think was a terrible call. Watching it, it looked like our defender just kind of bodied him. He was side.
Yeah.
They were striding together, and he just kind of stepped in front and
I
prodded
thought
him.
his hands hit. I wasn't so upset with the call.
Yeah.
But I was kind of upset with the player getting. It was Dolby, right?
Yeah.
Getting into a position where he really should have been able to.
I didn't
he didn't
think
have
it was,
to do anything.
I didn't think it was worthy of a call.
That's
Maybe.
not
Which
called
would-
next year.
Which would have made them
Probably not.
Which would have made them punt.
Yeah.
So instead they get to continue that drive and end up scoring another touchdown. But at that point, you've given them the 7 points from the Freeman muff, and then they go down the field and get 7 more points. It could have been 14-0 easily right there. And then we end up scoring again. I mean, this game at halftime, what was the halftime score?
35,
16.
35-16. It could have easily been
41.
35-3. at that point.
41?
Yep.
40,
We had 40.
Yeah.
We had
42.
42.
yeah. We had
41.
42 at
It
half.
could have easily been
42
42-3. Well, they probably wouldn't have kicked the
16.
field goal at that point. They probably
Right.
gone for it. But
Right.
42-7 at that point.
Right.
Instead of, 42-16 is still a big lead, but and then the third quarter comes out and it looks like they made a bunch of adjustments, and defensively we didn't, and they scored 22 points in the third quarter.
And
This
they're a
is-
prolific passing attack.
yeah, this
So-
isn't like BYU.
I think we just got too relaxed.
In BYU,
Yeah.
we looked bad against a really bad offense. Today, they had a more than capable offense coming in because the freshman they had, Hoover, has looked really good, and he's actually run the ball more in the previous games than he really didn't run today,
Now, we
which I
shut
was
that
surprised
down.
at.
But I was very impressed by his ability to stay in the pocket, being hit, and still get the pass off.
Yeah.
God, he got so many passes that I thought for sure there's no way he gets his pass off, and
he's got
it's
good
still
arm
getting
talent.
there.
I mean-
he does. So you just can't do that against a team that's talented like that, especially someone with a passing threat, because obviously they can score really quick and in bunches, which they did, and make it a game or almost make it a game. It's kind of hard to say, was it a game, was it not? It sure felt like it was a game a couple times. We were
Yeah.
only up by 14. We know how things go. There was a lot of clock left, and it really should have been, even at 42-16, it should be put away.
Yeah.
You really shouldn't have to worry in the second half.
And we got the ball to start
did.
the half.
Yeah. Back to the Gavin Freeman. So not to knock the kid, but all we heard in the preseason was how terrific he was, and I'm sorry, it just hasn't panned out.
He did one thing this year. I mean, in my opinion, it was the punt return. I mean,
The very
the
first.
very first punt return. First time he touched the ball this season was his leaps and bounds best play of the season.
Almost the worst thing that could have happened, because then it was like, this is what you do, kid, and you can do it every time. So when you get to the end of the season, I was thinking about this in terms of Dylan Gabriel's shortcomings and some of the things we saw to Dylan Gabriel today, and I'm going to get back to eventually talk about the snapping the ball too early and put it in the same group of complaints. At the end of the season, you've got to blame coaching. So early on, you don't know exactly what a player's going to do, what their potential is, what their mistakes might be. By the 12th game of the season, you know who Gavin Freeman is. You know who Dylan Gabriel is. You know all these things. You as a coach have to work around it and figure out what you're going to do. I don't understand why Nunez still has him back there kicking or receiving.
I don't understand why
punts.
Nunez still has a job.
The only thing I can figure is, not to say this badly, but is he expendable? You don't put Drake Stoops back there
'Cause you don't want him hurt.
You don't want him hurt. You don't put
Billy
Billy
Bowman,
Bowman,
'cause you
obviously,
don't
because
want
of the
him
kickoff last year
Yep.
situation.
But he is in
Pey-
kickoffs.
Peyton Bowen could definitely be a punt returner, but that's another guy you don't want to lose on defense. So
Right.
does it come to just that? I mean, we
Maybe.
saw, I think, early in the year when
Just
they
have him fair
they
catch every
put
time then.
LV Bunkley Shelton in. Well, that's part of the problem too. Is
Yeah.
his fair catching is suspect. So
Yeah.
I think he meant
I mean
somebody
put-
else.
Yeah, someone
Yeah.
else back there and
Yeah,
have him fair
I agree.
catch every time.
Well,
yeah.
and I think LV had one, only one to my memory, and he muffed it, I think. And then
Right.
we didn't see him again. So,
well, now Freeman's had 4.
yeah, and
Four
Yeah.
out of
And you can't really
Four out of
call that a
16?
muff punt.
four
It
out of
was just a
17 at the
terrible
time. I think
decision.
there was one or two more in the game. So.
Yeah, so call it 4 out of 19.
20%.
Muffs. That's
I mean,
not
that's
good.
that's about as
Yeah.
bad as you can get.
It's really bad. It's just so critical because all you're looking for there is just really the safe thing to get your offense the ball back, especially when you're seeing offensive production. It would be different if you're saying we're desperate and we need something to happen. You're not desperate. You just want to have the ball back because the offense is rolling. So that was disappointing. I'm going to blame the coaching more than anything for that. And that'll be interesting to see in the offseason what happens with Nunez. Does he keep his job or does something change? We've got other potential job changes that we keep hearing rumors about with Jeff Lebby, and Mississippi State's been all over the news. We're here to break it that we don't have any special news, but it'll be really interesting to see in the coming days or week plus if an announcement's made we all suspect that they're not going to do anything until we know for sure OU's not in the championship game. It'd be real surprising, but not unprecedented to have him be announced before a game like that. But if we are in the championship game, it'd be probably better for team distraction that that news doesn't come out until after that. If indeed he is getting another job, that really remains to be seen. That's the rumor mill right now in the grapevine, but there's nothing definitive by any means. Well, let's talk about one thing to give some accolades to, which is Billy Bowman. So he had 3 pick sixes on the season, including one today. Tremendous effort. He cuts back across the field to keep it alive. It really reminded me of another number 2 in the 2000 season against Nebraska. So Derek Strait intercepts, and he did a cut back across the field in that same direction, same end zone and everything, and get into the end zone for a touchdown. But Billy Bowman, as far as we know, no one in OU history has had 3 pick sixes for touchdowns. And I don't know if anyone's officially looked back to see if that's happened, but that's pretty awesome.
I'm sure Houck will release something if it's a record.
Even if it just ties a record, that's pretty awesome. It is a little bit of a microcosm and it just emblematic of the fact that this defense is so much better than it's been in the past. The big strides they've made, it's wonderful to see. It's absolutely great. It's one of those. On that one, was the quarterback under duress? Remind me.
Yeah, he was.
He was.
He was.
Right?
He was like flushed out to the right
Yeah.
and kind of forced to throw.
So again, it goes back to what I'm going to give him credit for, which is creating a lot of touchdowns, or excuse me, interceptions and fumbles by playing real aggressively, flying to the ball, and being a true disruptor, not just things landing in your lap. That was a pretty big moment right there to seal the game and make sure there was no chance at some goofy little last-minute comeback. So that was impressive. What other things about the defense impressed you guys?
I think we got a lot of pressure, still didn't get home, but he was definitely under duress all day. And when you're facing a young quarterback, if you're trying to speed up his clock and his timing, that can't do anything but help you. So just imagine if we didn't have any pressure, they would have had 900 yards. I have no idea, but
and they didn't have that many yards, actually. They only had like 400 something.
We dialed up some pretty good blitzes, I feel like, in this game, too.
I thought so, too. Again,
They
surprising.
had 520, so that's a lot of yards.
That is a lot of yards. They got a lot in the fourth quarter. I guess I looked at it when it was
I think in the third
still
quarter
some
was a lot
time
of it.
left. Yeah, maybe I looked at it then. The strip sack was, well, I guess it was a strip sack. That was pretty awesome. It didn't result in a pure turnover. They bounced right to an offensive lineman. But that was awesome to get around and perfectly put your hand on the football as well as tackle the quarterback. That was really impressive. I thought Stutzman played pretty well. Thinking about the defense, when you look at guys like Billy Bowman and Stutzman, do we look at guys that we think are coming back?
Well, it's a good segue. I mean, there's Bob Prisbillo released the list of seniors who could come back. Some notable names on there: Trace Ford, DG. Obviously, we've gone over that. Jacob Lacey at D tackle, Key Lawrence, Marcus Major, Rame, DeJohn Terry, and believe it or not, Woody Washington. So, few names there that I think I'd like to see move on, but some also ones that I'd love to see stay. Like DeJohn Terry, you come back and develop for another year on that interior line. He's been a force.
same with Lacey.
And same with Lacey. So we'll see. I mean, I'd love to see a couple of those guys go be successful, whether it's in the NFL or on another team. And I'd love to see a couple come back and possibly rein in the SEC with us for the first year.
Well, one guy who definitely won't be coming back, I guess, is Drake Stoops. So Drake Stoops today, 12 catches, tying his own personal record, 125 yards and a touchdown, and was touchdown that was fought for. That was awesome. That one of those catches late in the third quarter there, tippy toes, and Ava, I think you said that was sort of a debut for his NFL kind of
tenure, yeah.
tape.
Both feet.
Both feet in bounds, so beautiful, tippy toes. He just is a fighter. He went out at one point. I guess it was in the fourth quarter. and it was that deep ball or a relatively deep catch that he fought on the sidelines for and was out about the 5-yard line or so. And he immediately took his helmet off, and we said, "Is he tired?" I said, "Yeah, he's tired of putting this whole team on his shoulders and making it work." And that's an exaggeration to a bit, but he does. He just is one of those guys that always gives you so much more. Love to see it. Obviously, love the whole story with Stoops and being the coach's son. But he's just a great player no matter what. I really hope that he can find some opportunities at the next level. I think he's the kind of guy that could be a real contributor to a team. Going to miss him for sure. That was pretty cool.
Don Key Award winner.
Don Key Award winner, along with Woody Washington and I'm blanking. Dylan Gabriel.
How do we feel about the multiple players getting the most prestigious award that OU has to offer?
You know, I've never been a fan, with one exception, when they did it in 1999, which was the first time it had ever been done, and they awarded all the seniors, because that class had been through so much with the John Blake years and everything. And then the 2000 was sort of like, I get it still because it's a holdover from that, and they had accomplished so much with an undefeated season. But they've done it back and forth. I think they gave all the seniors again like in 2003 or something, if memory serves, but I may be making that up. They've definitely given multiple players. I'm a little, I don't know. I can see a case for a couple, but sometimes it's just like you're not willing to make the tough decision and just give the award to the guy you think should get the award. And at some point, you just got to make a decision about that kind of
Nick
stuff.
Saban doesn't give that award to 3 people, I bet. So,
Good question. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree. I think it should have just been Drake by himself. I mean, Dylan Gabriel, I wouldn't say saved the program, but obviously when you lose Caleb and you're scrambling to bring somebody in because you don't really have anything on the bench, you know, coming in and being the 2-year starter is pretty impressive. And then Woody, I mean, Woody's been pretty solid since he's been here. But, I mean, it's a career award for essentially your dedication to the university. So it should have been just Drake for me.
I think so, too. And we don't know the off-the-field stuff. They're supposed to, off the field is supposed to enter into it. We do know a little bit about Drake Stoops and know that he probably earned it as much off the field as on the field. But you don't know what a leader in the locker room these other guys are and everything they do. So give them some slack that maybe they know something we don't know. But all in all, I'd rather see a single person selected for it. I'm not going to complain too much. But what I am going to complain about is snapping the ball too damn early. And that was just wearing me out. So Matt, you mentioned it. Tell me, when you're trying to run clock and you're trying to make the game shorter because you've got a good lead, and there's 40 seconds on a clock and then 25 seconds on a clock depending on the circumstances, when do you hike the ball?
5 seconds, 3 seconds.
Right.
Are you a
right.
mathematician? Because that should weigh heavily in this.
Right, yeah.
I
So
think we need some of the people from NASA that got the Apollo 13 back to land on Earth. We had all those people in there figuring out the trajectories and
That's right.
And all that. We have
Slide
to get those
rules.
people. Do we
Yeah.
need to get one of those people?
Find me a nerd
in their
and
80s to
help-
come
come
run
help
play
us
Yeah,
clock for us.
we did not slow it down until we got the ball back again with 6:05 to go in the game,
Yeah.
and then we slowed down the pace, as if when we had the ball with 11
minutes,
minutes to
yeah.
go in the game, that wasn't the right time to slow down.
Well,
the
leading
pace.
into that,
Even
you
when-
had done the rough math, Lucas, and it was, you said, and not to be precise, but at 11 minutes or so to go,
Yeah.
you said it should have been about 7.5, and I think you were right.
Yeah, it was. I think it was 9.
Or
It was about 2
Um,
2 minutes and 15 seconds ish.
Difference.
If they just would have snapped
Yeah.
it. And I'm not talking
Which
about
is a
3.
whole
I'm
series.
just talking like 7 or 8.
Right.
Because that knocks off 20 seconds from what we were doing. And if 20 seconds, how many times makes a minute?
Well, what
3
I
times,
noticed-
that's 1 minute.
Yeah.
3 more times makes another minute. That's 2 minutes just doing it 6 different
We
downs.
even did it on the field goal.
Yeah.
The clock is running, and you're kicking a field goal, and there was like 18 seconds left.
That one I can understand more than anything because we made that field goal, and I'm not going to, if we can make a field goal, I'd do
But
whatever
there's
it
no
takes.
reason to. The clock is just ticking.
It's so bad.
the last thing you want is Schmidt sitting back there thinking about trying to make
Well,
a
then
field
you
goal.
hold him on the sideline
Yeah.
until the clock's at 20,
Well,
and
what's
then
funny-
send him out there.
What's funny is even when we started slowing it down past that 6-minute mark or whatever you mentioned, Jay, we would slow it down for a play or two, and then we'd rush up and run a play.
Yeah.
Like, it's
We had a
just like
third. We had a third and one with Sawchuk,
Yeah,
and
and we
they
just-
immediately ramped in line and
30
ran
seconds
it. Or
left.
no, it was Walker.
30
I think.
seconds left on the clock.
It was
Yeah.
Walker
Yeah.
trying to get a first down.
So
And you're not fooling anybody. Like
They know you're running.
they know you're running it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to catch them off guard because literally they've watched your tape all year and they know how stupid you are with the clock, and that you're just going to run up there and snap the ball every damn chance you get.
Well,
It
it's
doesn't
And you're
make
going
no
to run
sense.
because you're definitely going to run.
Yeah.
Something else Christian and I noticed as we were watching too, and I don't know how many times it happened. We noticed it happened at least twice, and this is more of a tangent here, but whoever the clock operator is incapable of doing a good job. TCU runs the ball. It's like a second down, does not get a first down, does not go out of bounds. It's not under 2 minutes. It's just in the normal run of game.
And they let
Clock
it stop
stops.
the clock.
The clock stopped for a good 14 seconds. We were sitting there watching it. So, again, a knock on the conference, a knock on whatever this is that they're
Well,
trying
OU
to
runs the
show
clock.
as a conference.
So
okay,
that,
so
that's
there you
bad.
go. That-
That's really bad.
I don't
no,
know.
It
little
was
stuff
it
like
was
that.
amazing with in that period greater than 6 minutes to go. We were literally snapping the ball with more time on the clock than TCU was, and I mean to the tune of 10 to 15 seconds per snap.
And they're trying to catch up.
And they're trying to catch up. They're not trying to run clock. And they're doing a better
Levy
job.
wanted to make sure that Zach Selman had every opportunity to see every single play that he could possibly run.
I had a guy tell me
We even ran a jet sweep.
he wonders if the
did.
offense wouldn't work properly if we weren't in a hurry up. And I said, well, here's what you do. You huddle.
Yeah, we've
and
talked
then
about that.
when there's 15 seconds
Yeah.
left on the clock, you pretend like it's a full 40-second
Yeah.
play clock, and then you break huddle and run up there and snap the ball as fast as you can.
I brought that up
It doesn't
like
make any
on
sense.
game 3, I
Yeah.
think, and said, well, that I've got the solution. I think go back to the pod. I said have Ethan Downs out tackling Dylan Gabriel and have him not let him up until there's about 10 seconds left, and then he can do it. And you know what? He'd be better in the backfield than when you have Stoops or Farouk back there.
Yeah.
So it worked double.
Or Stogner.
Or Stogner. So it's just that's a big shortcoming. And so I don't think you're right, Connor. It's a great game. The offense was really good, and there's not a lot of points of obvious criticism, but that is one where we can say
That's
it
just
was
a
a game that was
consistent point of
critical, and
criticism.
it's been for 2 straight years.
Yeah.
They can't figure this out. It's really bad. And
What about the Gavin Freeman 18-yard loss or whatever that was?
Oh my gosh.
It was only an 8-yard loss,
8-yard
Lucas.
loss.
Come on.
It looked like a million yards. It was so frustrating.
And it made no sense
So
in
it was
the flow of that in the
so
game.
what happened there? They snapped it to Gabriel, who handed it off to.
No, they snapped it to Stoops. Or,
Okay.
And then he handed it
And
off
off
to
to
Gabriel.
Gabriel, who handed
Gabriel
it off
tosses
to
it back to Freeman.
Freeman, who
on an
runs
end around.
has to go backwards because there's 2 defenders right there, and he gets
completely
tackled for a
snuffed
big
out.
loss.
Yeah.
I joked that they were setting up the perfect deep ball, which was the next play, that they wanted to place it the way you might do for your field goal kicker. So Gabriel said, "I want the ball right here when I throw the deep ball
and
to."
he threw it to Brendan Thompson. I think,
Brendan
for the long
Thompson was
touchdown.
actually a
Yeah.
touchdown. Yeah, just a really good throw.
of the-
Actually, a little underthrown, but yeah, I'm not going to complain. That was a really well thrown ball.
Again, to my point, that's a play that we happened to connect on that bailed us out of a stupid play
Oh,
before.
absolutely. That's a great point. Yeah,
That is a
That's
good
what
point.
that's what I don't get about Levy.
there's quite a bit of bailout going on there. So that I don't know. We'll see. We're going to have a midweek pod for sure, and in it we will be talking about hopefully the Sooners playing in a Big 12 title. But yes or no, we're going to eventually be talking about what happens with Jeff Levy if something does happen. It's going to be real interesting to see how that breaks. There's still a lot of reason to believe he's not going anywhere, so we might be stuck with this for a while. That said, you look at a couple of deep balls that didn't get connected on today. I've got to imagine Jackson Arnold can throw every one of the balls that got caught today, plus several that didn't. So we may get into a situation where our offense is really productive and really good, and we're worried because we know it's not that good, but we get bailed out by a quarterback who's just playing lights out and fantastic. I don't know. Interesting to see what happens at running back. So running back was a little bit of a mystery all year. Here we are on the 12th game, and we have settled into Sawchuk, which is great. We thought from the get-go that he was the number 1 back. Eventually he gets to that position. Walker had some meaningful carries today, but not a whole lot. Barnes got in for 1 carry. And then who was it that got in?
2 carries.
Or 2 carries. Who got in for 1 carry?
The kid from Washington who transferred last
Yeah,
year. I forget
yeah.
how to pronounce his name.
Emeka
we-
Megwa.
Yeah,
Megwa,
so we've
yeah.
got a lot of kind of confusion about what's happening at running back. We've got some big recruits coming in. That's going to be, as a preview for next year and off-season topics, that's going to be a real interesting point to figure out what are we doing at running back. who's the guy, and of course, whoever your coaching staff is at that point is going to matter.
Well,
too.
who do we think transfer? Matt, you think we got any transfers at that position this offseason?
Barnes.
Barnes, I think that'd be my number one as well. I think Barnes is out. Wouldn't surprise me if you see one of Hicks and or Smothers maybe test the water there a little bit.
They might be one of those ones that wait until after
Till
spring.
camp. Yeah, until after camp.
to
Yeah.
see
See
where
where
they
they're
are.
at.
Yeah, see what their number is in the line.
Do we know, are any of these recruits early signees that'll be in?
I think Tatum will be here early.
Yeah, that'll be telling then. That's a good point.
How about
Hopefully they
Xavier
do wait.
Robinson? Is he 24 or is he 25?
He's this year.
That's what I thought. We saw him in person. He's a monster.
He is a monster. He's a different kind of back that you want to
He's
have
huge.
around, even if he's just.
Yeah, he's a lot bigger.
He looks like he
Almost
should be
a
playing
fullback,
fullback.
I mean, he's.
But he doesn't run like
But
a
he's
fullback.
taller than
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
He's.
Yeah.
I
We'll
like
see.
that combination.
Yeah, I mean,
that sounds real good.
He's not Adrian Peterson, but size, like body type wise, it's not crazy far off.
which shout out AD at the game today.
Yeah.
Apparently getting
was it?
called AP on the broadcast.
Well, that wasn't by a former Sooner, was it?
No, I believe it actually was.
Oh my
So
God, Spencer Tillman.
yeah, I think Spencer Tillman may be the ultimate troll because he says
he's the worst in
or
the
he's
business.
just horrible at his job. Maybe it's the latter.
It really frustrates me. He back in the day, he was my favorite player, albeit I was like 8 years old. But it's just frustrating to see somebody who can't understand. And he had some Twitter comments today that really illustrate this. You don't have to be a fanboy to be proud of where you went to school, and also to laud them and talk about them specifically. He is so obsessed or worried about journalistic integrity and playing the I'm independent card that he really disavows his school and his history and every aspect of that. And some fans were calling him out for it. It's just disappointing. You don't have to be that way. And then between him and Brando that just say the stupidest things, just stupidity.
And they both spent a lot of time at CBS, which
Yeah.
never covered OU games.
Right.
And then now they're at Fox, and they do. It's almost
they,
like they do their homework.
apparently, from what we heard, it
Yeah.
sounds like they've never watched an OU game.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not a football game, because Brando was saying that it was really good that we threw the deep interception because it was kind of like a punt, which last time I checked, you don't punt on first down.
Yeah.
So
And
that
what was
doesn't
he calling
work
it? He's
that
calling
way.
it the
And-
Boomer Schooner.
Yeah,
and
yeah, the Boomer
And
Schooner.
our best wide receiver was hurt, and then
Our best
that
wide
was
receiver.
DJ
And who
Graham.
wa- DJ Graham?
Oh, yeah, DJ.
So some real ignorance.
He said the Nebraska
Yeah,
guy,
the Nebraska
DJ Graham.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So, as another point of something going on, kind of at this on the sidelines, literally. I don't know if you noticed, Lucas, from your seats. We'll talk about that in a minute. But the Sooner Schooner was unmanned for a while today. There were no ponies there, and they never made the announcement, did they?
No.
But in the last two games, there have been duplicate ponies downstairs in a stable underneath the stadium. And I believe what we're doing, we're switching out the ponies, because typically what they do is announce the new ponies that come in and to retire the old ones. But maybe they couldn't get the others settled down or something, because then they eventually came back out and harnessed them back on the schooner. And I don't know if it was the new ones or the old ones. I couldn't tell. I can't tell my ponies from that far away. But they at some point there was no ponies on the schooner, and so we may have new ponies, may not. I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be part of the Jeff Levy announced that we announced the
Jeff
new
Levy
ponies.
takes the two old ones to Mississippi State, so
That
we're
was not on
changing
my-
everything.
That was not on my observation list for today's game.
It was kind of an interesting thing.
We're seeing some highlights right now. A couple plays that I wanted to maybe talk about. First one, just we're laughing at it right now. Jaden Gibson catches the deep ball and is walking into the end zone waving at the crowd as he's trying to get tackled by two guys.
I don't
The
think he
defender
saw the
pulled his
second
shirt.
guy.
I don't know, but
He
the
did-
second
I-
guy,
he did
second
not
the
guy,
second
see
guy
the
didn't
sec-
see him.
the second guy kind
No,
of ruined his life
but he
because he
didn't see
ran
the
right
second
over the
guy.
top of him. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then the other play, the big fourth down in our own territory that we go for in
Yeah,
the
that
third
was
quarter.
gutsy.
And a gutsy call and a well-executed play.
really
by
well
Gabriel
executed
Run.
by Gabriel.
Yeah. So
Way to go, Gabriel. Great.
40 yards.
On that touchdown by Stoops that they reviewed, he was face masked too.
Yep.
They didn't
Yep.
call that.
Yeah.
So there's Drake Stoops on the highlights. Great job by him. Great to see so many things that happened today. It's one of those games where you're just so close to it being such an absolute shut the door on this conference, and yet we weren't quite there. It shows you how far we have to come, but it shows you how far we have come in so many respects. Speaking of the future and things changing, Lucas, tell us about your seats.
This was the final game in my seats in section 16, row 72. It's bittersweet. No, mainly just bitter. I'm going to be moving 4 sections over, similar seats, different vantage point.
Slightly.
It's very sad. Very sad.
You actually have a better vantage point.
Nope, I don't.
Are you still
don't
going to
think
be?
so?
Are you still going to be in the
Whoa.
end zone?
That's not better than where you are?
No,
Why is it not better?
Why would
You're
that be
looking at
better?
the
You're more
OU sideline.
square.
no. It is more square, but that's not.
Oh, you want a little bit of an angle? Does
I
that
don't want to
help?
be in the corner.
You're
But
not in the corner.
do what?
Aren't you moving closer to the center of the end zone?
I'm essentially going to have the same viewpoint within
He's
10
down.
feet.
He's down the other sideline.
I'm just down the other
Oh,
sideline.
okay. Oh, but you're not, because right now.
I'm currently down
You
the
just
OU
switched
sideline.
sides
Right.
to the
I'm
field
going to be
goal.
going down
You're
the
that
visitor
far over?
sideline. Yep,
Oh my goodness.
that's
All right.
beautiful.
Well, all right.
It gives me just the right angle to where I can see the first downs from my angle. If I was directly in the end zone, like dead center, you wouldn't be able to make out, where the chains are in relation to the football.
Okay.
But where I'm at, it's geometry, man.
Is it?
I do want to just note that Lucas is smoking a cigar. It's not something else. He's actually speaking relatively soberly.
Totally sober.
So yeah, I'm glad you can get that real great depth perception with the 20 feet.
Can you
It's
see the other,
perfect.
there's a big, I don't know if you can see it from your seats because it's the curvature of the earth, but there's a big screen, a
There
TV
is?
screen that you can see they do replays on. Yeah.
No, my vision's so good I don't ever look at the screen because I
really?
can see everything
Uh-huh.
going on in the field.
Do you know there's 2 end zones?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I feel for you guys, you and your family. You've been there a long time, 24 years.
Yep.
We walked out
In
with
that
some
section.
people after we did our video over in your section that had been there 30. I know there's numerous people. I know some people that have been there since the Gibbs years, and some people since the Switzer years, and it's sad to see.
You know what
somebody
we
have
said to him though?
move.
There's a reason that they don't give away seats in 107 to away fans. So.
Yeah,
I'm just
because
kidding.
nobody
I'm
wishes
just
that
kid-
upon
I'm just
their
kidding.
worst enemies.
I'm just kidding. No, it is. I'm sad your dad had to miss today.
Yep.
Shout out to
Shout
Mike
out to my
and
dad.
Yeah.
hope he's feeling better. But hopefully, Steve brought it up after. Maybe the new seats bring
Good luck.
some good luck and some wins. Some
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
national title or 2 or 9.
Some new titles.
Well,
of
we got
some
one in
kind
that
or
section.
another. So yeah, one in the section, but not in the seats. So let's.
So
get a couple
Matt, what do you
more.
prefer? You prefer where's your preferred seat if you had to say?
Well, when I was in the band and marching in the Pride, that was my preferred seat. But
What'd you
now,
play?
trumpet.
Trumpet.
Yeah.
You seem like a tuba guy, but okay.
How do you feel about the state of the How do you feel about the state of the Pride now?
I think they're doing all right now.
Yeah.
They had a few rough years. About I don't know.
I enjoyed
7 or 8 years
I
ago.
enjoyed the SpongeBob SquarePants performance at half today.
I'm not a
I
big
think it
fan
was-
of SpongeBob, but no, I don't have season tickets, so any seat inside the stadium is good for
the
me.
seat
right
where
now.
you're watching the game. I
Can you still play
respect
Boomer
that.
Sooner by memory?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I actually marched
Bula
in
Bula.
the alumni band.
Oh, did you?
Last season.
Oh,
not this
that's
season,
nice.
but
Pretty
last
sweet.
season.
Well, man, we may need to get get you and some other connections from the past.
Absolutely.
on. It'd be
Get some
fun.
Pride members on here.
Yep.
That'd be very cool.
Do
that'd be
an ode to the Pride. in the
Thank you for your
off-season.
service. Yeah, that's pretty
indeed.
cool.
Appreciate
That's
that.
awesome.
Yeah. It was fun.
That might be a cool intro to one of our videos.
Oh,
We just have him
yes.
playing Boomer Sooner in the background,
Oh, you
and then
still
we
got
start
the
our
trumpet?
video.
Let's do it. Let's bring it.
All right.
I like it. Can you
I don't
do
think Matt wants to
harmonica?
look like that big of a douchebag.
Well, it is bittersweet for sure. We'll see. It's kind of new things ahead. So let me ask you about new things ahead. So we had some complaints about the stadium and the experience this year. We had complaints about tailgating. It looks like they're working on it. What do you guys think? Are we gonna we close the chapter on OU home games in the Big 12 and about to open the chapters on SEC home games? Do we think things are going to improve? You had a bad concession experience today, Jay. I don't want you to have to recall it. I don't want flashbacks, but I know that you waited a long time to get your concessions.
Yeah, I went went down with 10 minutes to go at the halftime, and I got back to my seats with 3:54 left to go in the third quarter.
And you just went down that ramp, which is just
20 feet away.
20 feet away.
Yeah.
Why didn't you go down when there's 20 minutes left at halftime when the halftime starts?
You're blaming the victim.
Because
No, but you
everybody
spent 10
was
minutes
going
not
there.
getting in line to
so I was
start.
like, okay, I'll wait 10, 15 minutes. And then the kids are starving to death. And it's like, okay, I'll just go now because I think I'll get back. I knew I was going to miss 5 minutes of the third
Kickoff.
quarter.
Yeah.
because you just can't do anything in that stadium in 10
Yeah.
minutes or less?
I don't know. Wait a second. Elise, I went down and got you and Max some ice cream of the future, and I didn't travel in time. How long did it take me? Like 2 minutes. I had to go all the way down to the very bottom and all the way up. So I maybe you're doing it wrong. I'm with Lucas. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, you definitely do it wrong because now you can sit in your seat and get your phone out and place an order, and they will bring it to you.
Whoa, wow.
It's like an Uber Eats in the stadium.
I think that not was all of us make
I
Uber
think
Eats
that
type
was
money.
a special circumstance of people losing their seats and saying, "Hey, we,
don't think
we
it
will
was.
deliver for this one game." So
No, I think on a more serious note, I don't know that they'll make changes or improve anything until there's just massive backlash from all the SEC road teams next year.
I think you're
Their
probably
fans.
right. I think it's a combination of two things. I've always had a conspiracy theory about it a little bit. I think that they are waiting to make it good when they can make it perfect, and they're not going to make it good because they're afraid we'll get satisfied with just better, and they want it to be the dream stadium that they want to build. And so I think they're waiting to have us do the next phases of everything they want to accomplish. And that really frustrates me that they could make marginal improvements and still get the better stadium they want down the road with the really big renovations. But I don't think they're going to do those until they have the funding and everything in place. And so it's nothing or everything in their point of view. And I think you're right. I think it's going to take a lot of backlash and a lot of negative reviews and other things that come from opposing fans that travel, as well as just fans that start to demand more. And maybe get eventually listened to. But I'm with you, Jay. I'm kind of cynical. I don't think they're going to make big improvements anytime soon.
I don't either. I mean, there seems no intention to do so. I think that what do they call them? The water monsters. Is that
Yeah.
what they call them?
Yeah,
The
yeah,
massive,
yeah.
I think
The
that's
big
probably
blue
about
tubs.
as good as it's going to get for a while.
And that's like bare minimum what you have to do for
and not
human
only that,
rights or
not
something.
only that, the water monsters run out of water. We don't refill them after they're gone. So we'll see. I hope it's not a big point of contention with some of these SEC teams coming in. But from what we've heard, from what we've seen at other lesser stadiums than ours, we will be a step down from a lot of these teams that are going to be coming to Norman next year.
What is lacking compared to other stadiums that have a better fan experience?
Wow. So how long you got? I
gotta-
would say
I'm gonna step
In
in right quick.
generalities.
We've hosted in the last 15 years Tennessee, Florida State, Miami,
Ohio State,
Ohio
Notre Dame.
State, Notre Dame. You know, go a bit further back, you've got Alabama. I never heard any fans complain, visiting fans complain about their game day experience at OU. So personally, we all have our set schedule of what we do when we leave, when we go to the stadium. You know, I used to go to Campus Corner before I started coming over here. Before that, I'd go to the south, Lindsay Street, all that kind of stuff. When O'Connell's was open back in the day, and everybody partied over there if they went to the games. And other than a couple situations like Jay was talking about, getting concessions, and the bathroom still having troughs is ridiculous in this day and age. But the water is they tried this year with bringing those big water monster tubs out, but I don't think it's that bad. And yes, there are some improvements to be made, but I don't feel like we're seriously lacking behind the places we've been: Ohio State, Tennessee, UCLA. It's not that different in the places that I've been.
I'll say that I think it is. Here's the I'm not an apologist for it like Lucas is. You're right. We probably do get a little too critical, but here's the things that I would say, and I'm going to talk as quickly as I can through the entire experience. When we try to get into the stadium, it is like you're trying to board a flight in the most hostile airport in the world. And I'm sorry, that's just not the experience. That's not the situation. It is not the terrorist target that everyone wants it to be.
Tell that to the guy that blew himself up before K-State.
Right, and I think that for some reason that's the
That
thing they
one
keep
thing
coming
is-
back
yeah.
to. I don't know what it is, but we go to a lot of different stadiums, and nobody has the same security theater going on or the limited number of gates open to accommodate.
That is
So if anything, expand your perimeter, open more gates, and get the fans through. Once you're in, our choices of what to eat and drink are very limited and very different by area. So in areas that they've renovated recently, like the south end zone and before that the east sideline are much, much better than other areas of the stadium, the older areas of the stadium. They need to improve that drastically. When we're in the upper west end, the west side upper deck, that still has the same limited number of concession stands that they've always had. They have a volunteer crew, which, I'm sorry, nothing against volunteers, but it shouldn't be a volunteer experience. I feel like that should be a professionally run thing through the university or vetted through the university, and that should be done much more efficiently.
They're not
than
just
it
volunteers;
is.
they're children.
Yeah, they're young kids.
I mean,
yeah.
they're kids.
There's no rhyme or reason to the lines. There's no understanding of how to move people through. They just don't have a lot of experience with it. The bathroom situation is very difficult. It's not troughs up where I am, but it is the logistics of it are messed up. It's not well placed, not well organized. The fact that they run out of things in key times, like this is the first time they haven't run out. Well, I don't know, maybe they did, but they almost always run out of hot chocolate in the cold games and run out of water in the hot games. That's inexcusable.
And you have to make your own hot chocolate.
And you have to make your own hot chocolate, which makes no
Yeah,
sense.
we went to one today at halftime. I was at one concession, and luckily I wasn't trying to get food. They were completely cleared out of every single food item they had. Popcorn, hot dogs, pretzels, everything that they were advertising they sold, they did not have. All they had was fountain drinks and hot chocolate.
And you can maybe say, well, it's the last game of the year. Maybe they didn't want to overorder, but there's basketball. All the stuff that they sell,
Everything you can sell again.
You can move the popcorn and the hot dogs
I'm not
in the
giving
freezer.
them
You can
any-
move that stuff to the basketball.
I'm not giving them any grace on that. For the prices they charge, and I don't begrudge them for charging high prices, but the point of high prices is then it's available. You can't have it both ways. If it's going to be high prices, it needs to be available. And they're in this world of high prices and no availability. That's really frustrating.
I have a thought about the entry that something we really haven't thought about when we go to other stadiums, and that is our south end zone is completely blocked off. The practice fields are over there,
Right.
So you have no entries in the direct south. Now there are plenty of other gates that they could be manning in the north and on the
Both east and
all
west
the
side.
underneath ones on the west are essentially open.
Yeah.
But the east side and the north side for sure have gates that could be opened and put metal detectors and staff there. But you do lose the entire south end zone compared to some other schools that we've gone to where you could get in.
Then you
all
work
around
around
the
that.
stadium.
You figure out a way around it.
I agree.
Yeah.
There's at least 4 gates on that north side that stay closed at all times.
Yeah. So it's
2 in each corner.
it's these things among so many that are just there. And I understand you have more people in your stadium than the other Big 12 stadiums, but that's a great problem to have. You work your way around it, and I think you start to make you just do a better job. We've seen it at a number of venues that are football related, and then other venues. If we're going to a Taylor Swift concert, if we're going to other concert venues and other things, if we're going to other arenas, they don't have the logistical issues that we have at OU getting into the stadium, and they don't have the logistical issues when it comes to the concession stand and everything else. So I think all of those things could be improved. I know they want to do major renovations to really the entire north end zone as well as the press box, upper deck, all that. Yes, great. Let's get there. But in the meantime, let's try to figure out one or more things to do. One thing they could do is just bring back the guy. I know we have delivery if you want to scan your QR code, but bring back the guys walking up and down the stands who are selling drinks and hot dogs or whatever. That would alleviate a lot of that. And so what we have is everyone queuing up in these limited concession stand areas, and that prevents a good flow, and you have Jay waiting for, 3.5 hours or whatever it was to get his hot dogs for the kids and missing the game. That's what's inexcusable. So I think all those things could be improved. And it just, I don't know, it's going to mean more when you're in the SEC, so you need to up your game. We want to have excellence everywhere. We want to have excellence in the stadium. We want to have it be an inviting place where season ticket holders are rewarded for being season ticket holders, that people that go to the games, and it's a very difficult thing to go to the games, it's a very expensive thing to go to the games, that they find it worth it. Otherwise, you run the risk of it's really comfortable to stay at home, watch it on the big screen, and enjoy
other
everything
games,
from the
yeah.
comfort of your home.
And maybe that's a better way to put it is, I don't necessarily think that, Lucas, to your exact point, we've had big teams come in and out, and we'd never heard a true complaint. I want teams to come in and leave and be wowed at the stadium that we have.
Not just be adequate, but be great.
Yeah, and us to be proud to say, like, hey, we do have one of those top facilities, and and top destination stadiums to go to and to add to the game day experience that everyone enjoys. So, because Matt, to your point, I mean, I think if you're a casual fan who's going to games and you just want to get out on a Saturday, you want to visit for the weekend and go to a game, you're probably not leaving being like, well, I'm never doing this again because of all the things that we're rattling off. Barring, I don't know, if I was someone who just comes to games once in a while and had an experience like Jay had, that would be a massive turnoff for me going forward. But I think it's just more of the fact that I want people to be, myself, I want to be proud of the stadium that we're putting out there. Not that I'm not proud of it, but of all the amenities and everything that we have to offer. And I want people who are visiting or those fans that can only come once in a while to be excited because of how great their experience is going to be.
Yeah, I agree. And there's a lot of different ways to go with the economics of how you want to do concessions, but it's not impossible to do it in a way that is the opposite of what we do in terms of high prices and low availability. If you look at what the Atlanta Falcons do, they have cheap prices and great availability. Mm-hmm. It's literally free refills with your soft drinks. You just walk up and get free refills. They
and
figured
not only,
out
and
that
your soft drink isn't $9.
Yeah,
it's a $4 or $5 soft drink.
And you just refill it as many times as you want.
Hot dogs
They
are
figured
$2.
out that that's not an area they're going to gouge and try to get the profit. They're just going to make that an added part of the experience. And I think if you do that, you can really enhance the entire experience for fans and make it. And I think that's going forward is going to be something we're going to have to do.
Yeah, it was not only did I miss almost the entire third quarter, but it was $40-something for 2 nachos, a pretzel, and 3 waters.
That's pretty basic concessions too. That wasn't like high-end nachos with all kinds
meat
of
and all the fixings.
Yeah,
and stuff.
no, it was
like
it
was
was
chips
and cho, baby.
Tube cheese.
The best.
Well, we just want it to be great. We want excellence in everything that we do. We have high standards and we have high hopes, I think, for the team. So we're watching the beginning of the Texas Tech game. There's a chance that we make it to the Big 12 title. I think everyone here would love and hope that we can get to the Big 12 title. What do you give of chances that we're going to see the teams lose that need to lose to get us there? What do you guys, are you feeling at all confident? Are you feeling like it's just no chance at all?
20%. And that's just because crazy things happen in college football. But I've kind of written it off at this point. I'll be super amped, obviously. I want to be there. But if I had to put a percentage on it, no higher than 20% that we actually get there.
I think it's a little higher than that, but not much. We have 3 games. Any 2 of them get us there, and a single gets us there if BYU can win. I'm still probably less than a 33% chance, 1 1/3 chance that we get there. You guys feel about the same, worse, better?
I'd say 5%.
No, it's way more than 5%.
5 or 10, yeah.
I think 10.
We can do better than that. You can do the math on these teams. It's better than that, man. I don't know. I hope you're wrong.
I don't think Tech can win tonight.
Well, when we just needed Texas to lose to
Kansas State.
Last week.
Iowa State.
They should have lost to Kansas State.
Iowa State to beat Texas. That one felt like we had a lot better chance. But now that Texas has to lose to Tech, and we have to have the winner of we have to have Iowa State beat Kansas State.
Or
just OSU lose. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's your best shot is just the one team losing.
Yeah.
But having the other 2 really hurts the chances.
Yeah, they're narrow chances, but I think it's a little better than that. But regardless, I don't think anyone's going to disagree that we're on the outside looking in.
And we have nobody to blame but ourselves.
Nobody to blame but ourselves. So we're going to land in whatever bowl game we land in. We're going to have, obviously, a big name to bring to a bowl game, so we're probably going to get a good shot at a good bowl game regardless. We're 10-2. We're a top 15 team for sure. We may be, depending on the type of upsets we see, we might be a top 10 team after it's all said and done, even if we don't play in the championship. What do you guys think here at the end of the season now? We made predictions throughout the season. At the beginning of the season, 10-2 is where we settled. And that sort of was the median of our guesses and expectations as they started and as they evolved. 10-2. All things considered, is this regular season-wise a success, a failure, a mixture? What do you guys think?
I think it was a success. I had us at 9-3, even though I knew the schedule was really bad, and that most years I would have been disappointed with anything less than 11-1, other than the Texas game going into this year. Looking at the names of the teams, but knowing how we played the season before and how much improvement we definitely had to make, especially on defense, I said 9-3 would be satisfactory and 10-2 would be really good, and that's where we got to. So
You didn't expect these 10
even though it sucks that we did beat Texas and we were on pace to where we could have gone a lot further, but losing we lost by 5 at Kansas and 3 at OSU. Both of those losses could have been avoided. All we need is 1 first down to beat Kansas, or you stop them on 1 4th down and you win that game, and then you get 1 correct officiating call in the end zone against Drake, and we get 1st and goal from the 2 to pretty much win that game, and you fail on that as well. But 10-2 is that's a big stride in one season for this defense. I mean, I don't see how anybody could look at this year's defense and say, man, they didn't do a great job. Even though the last couple games we weren't happy with how we played, over the course of the season, this has made a huge jump.
Matt, what do you think? Success, failure, mix?
I think it's a success when you're coming from the record that we had last season, 6-7, right, to
Yep.
10-2. That's a chance to be 11-2, maybe even 12.
So 6-6 regular season, but yeah.
I don't think there's any other way to describe it other than success.
Jay,
Yeah, I
Connor?
think obviously after the Texas game, you sort of adjust your expectations on the season. So it's a little bit of a disappointment after that. But overall, in general, yeah, of course, it's a success. There's a lot of coaches that don't ever get to 10 wins in a season. And we're watching one right now that everyone thinks is this great up-and-coming coach for Texas, and it took him 10 seasons as a head coach for him to get to his 10th win. So,
Connor?
Yeah, agree. I mean, success for sure. With the obvious disappointment. I mean, you guys all hit the nail on the head. After Texas, expectations change, especially being undefeated after that game, and the games we lost are very disappointing, and it is disappointing to be on the outside looking in and trying to backdoor your way into a conference championship game. So it's disappointment rooted in the fact that I know that this team is better. The team is better than the 10-2 record that we have. And, you know, a few things fall here and there. We're 12-0, and we're not just looking at going to Arlington next weekend. We're looking at, we win in Arlington, we're making a trip to the college football playoffs. So, and I think those expectations after the Texas game that we set, when all of us said that there's no reason we shouldn't go 12-0, there's no reason that this team should not be 12-0 right now with the games we lost. So a successful season with, in my opinion, it's not even mild. It's a heavy amount of disappointment with where we're at right now, because I know for a fact that this team should be a sure in for the title game next week.
I totally agree. I think all of you guys just nail it. It's a huge success. And here's how big of a success it is. We're 10-2, which is a great turnaround, like you point out, Matt, from where we were last year to where we are today. We beat the toughest opponent on our schedule, Texas, in the biggest game on our schedule. Obviously, the big rival, everything that goes with that. And what we're talking about is disappointment that we didn't achieve what we now realize we could achieve because of how good we actually are. And it was all by our own doing. It wasn't like we needed things to fall our way. We didn't need a couple lucky breaks. We didn't need a bounce of the football. We just needed to play the game we're capable of playing, and we could get there. And so in the same respect that we have huge disappointment because we know we could be better, that's how good we are and how big of a success it is and how big of a turnaround it's been to be in a position where 10-2, we're even having like a discussion that it's a disappointment. Normally you'd be saying, this is, wow, put a banner up. This is amazing. But it's not for OU football. And now we're back to OU football where 10-2 is just not good enough. And we know that we're good enough and we could have achieved even more. So I think it's a huge success. Getting back to where we are, we've made a leap to a new plateau, and we hope to make another leap to a higher one. But I think the way we have to step back from it and say, all in all, it is a big success, even though, gosh, we had it right in front of us. We could have done so much more. We could be going to Arlington looking for our 15th title, and it may still happen. That's another, I guess, aspect of how it's a success, that we're still in the hunt where a lot of teams are completely out of it. So I'm excited about it. It's one of those things where you're just disappointed and it's bittersweet, but hell, we need to celebrate 10-2. Just like in 1999, we needed to celebrate 7-5. That was a big deal. We're going to a bowl game. We'll be going to a good bowl game, maybe a New Year's Six game. So a lot to build on. You got teams like TCU today. They're not going to a bowl game unless they get some special waiver because there's not enough eligible teams. I don't know the status. They're not going to a bowl game. They're fighting for one. BYU's going to try to fight for one against Oklahoma
They played the
State.
national championship last year.
They played in the national championship last
How
year.
disappointed do you think those fans are?
They should be really
They got
disappointed.
Sonny Dykes comes in, takes them to the national championship game. They got to feel like their program is rolling. Like, this is what we needed. Gary Patterson was good. We get rid of him out the door, and now
Here we
Sonny
are.
Dykes comes in. We're rolling, and then bam, 5-7.
Yeah, and that shows you the different trajectory we're on. I think we're on a great trajectory. I'm very, very positive on it. Well, anything more about this game today that we need to talk about that we haven't? I think we've covered a lot of bases. We're going to be back in the midweek to talk about either the Sooners, hopefully, maybe, playing in the Big 12 title. If not, we'll be talking about where we're headed next and what the future holds. I think that the future's bright, and we're going to have a lot to talk about in the coming weeks. We're going to be talking about the bowl games and the national championship and all that. And I will just predict a little bit of disappointment, saying, "Wow, we're better in that team. We're better in that team. We could have been better in that team." We're going to be, if we're not in the Big 12 title, we're going to be watching a couple teams one of them that we beat, and the other that we damn sure know we could have beaten. And so that's all a good thing in the long run. It's just bitter and tough in the short run. Well, until then, Boomer.
Sooner.